Right now, summer sports are in full swing. Baseball is firing on all cylinders, and there's a certain soccer tournament the world's watching. Something you should be watching is your vehicle's engine. That's why Pennzoil Synthetics gives you complete protection for top engine performance. Pennzoil. Make the switch.
This is the Best of Golic and Wingo podcast.
Golic and Wingo, ESPN Radio and ESPN2, presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. And, Mike, it's time for the Straight Talk. And it's brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks, no contracts. And we all felt that in Game 1 of the NBA Finals, the Cavs blew it. I mean, they had a chance to steal a game and really make this thing a series. And they got lucky. I mean, they got a little bit lucky. They got lucky with the fact that they withstood a 50-point game from LeBron, the first time a guy had ever scored 50 points in an NBA Finals and lost. They got away with the fact that J.R. Smith didn't understand. His recollection now keeps changing.
Yes, it does.
But he does not quite understand what the time and place was and the score. So they got a little lucky. And they decided to work on that. And I think what Brian Windhorst, our NBA insider, said after the game summed it up best about what Golden State did much better in Game 2 as opposed to Game 1.
The Warriors changed a lot in their game plan in this game. Not just their starting lineup and their offensive strategy, but their defensive strategy. They were picking LeBron up full court. They were double teaming him. They were forcing the ball out of his hands. Essentially, Kenny, what they were doing is saying, we don't believe your teammates can beat us. And they were right tonight. And in the huddles, LeBron was really engaged, trying to get his teammates to move off the ball, to make countermeasures. He was really trying to rally them. And as the game went on, I just watched him get more and more defeated because his team wasn't keeping up with the countermeasures, and Curry just kept hitting the threes. And that's something that you fight against the Warriors is, when you play them on a night where they're awesome, which the Cavs have many times. I mean, they've lost 13 times with the Warriors in the playoffs in the last 4 years now. It's really a mental challenge, and it's another reason why Game 1 hurts so much, because when you have an opportunity, you have to get it, because you have nights like tonight.
The thing I like about Golden State, and the thing you have to remember is they have the great scorers that we know.
Yes.
We think of Golden State, you think of these 4 stars and how they can score, but they play defense. They do a nice job of playing defense, and they got the win in Game 1, and I'm sure they felt a little lucky in Game 1, obviously the way it ended, and you don't stand pat. They just, okay, we need to change some things up. LeBron got 51. We still got the win. We've seen that time and time again with the greats like Jordan, where they go off and do their thing, but they still lose the game. So in this case, but Cleveland really had every chance to win it, but them saying, okay, let's change it up, as Windhorst said. Let's pick him up. Let's make him work a little more. Let's get the ball then. Let's get the ball out of his hands. And what's interesting is LeBron getting frustrated about everybody else then not moving. And what's odd is this isn't really an offense where you see that a whole lot anyway.
No.
You see a lot of that isolation stuff and guys not moving, especially with LeBron with the ball. So it's difficult to say, okay, all right, now I'm getting picked up here at full court, or I'm getting doubled and have to get rid of the ball. You guys got to move more. No, yeah, you do have to move more. You have to figure that out, but they're not used to doing that. Give Golden State a lot of credit, for saying we're not standing pat even though we're the best team in the NBA. We know we need to switch some things up, and this is something we switched up last night.
Well, they know they probably are not going to withstand another 50-point game from LeBron and find a way to win. So they made him work for it. But it was interesting, Mike, as much as what Wendy said there is true, I just was watching that game last night, was amazed at how often LeBron was actually getting to the rim.
Yeah.
I mean, the knock on him has always been, well, sometimes he settles for the mid-range jumpers. Well, this entire playoff series, he has been taking it hard to the hole, and it still wasn't enough. And LeBron was asked about, because you heard Windhorst say he could see LeBron sort of imploring his teammates, give me more, and how it sort of wore on him in the game. LeBron admitted afterwards, losing is not good.
I mean, it sucks to lose. It sucks when you go out there and you give it everything that you have, and you prep, and your mind is in it and your body is in it. And you come out on a losing end, but nothing would ever take the love of the game away from me. I think the competition is something I live for, something I wake up every day and train my body for and train my mind for. So, yeah, I mean, it sucks to lose, that's for sure, but it definitely won't stop me from, preparing, to be better the next day.
So to sum it up, I believe LeBron thinks it sucks to lose.
Yeah, I would say that's where we are. You look at Game 1 and Game 2, they took 9 less shots in Game 2 than they did in Game 1. LeBron took 12 less shots 32 in game 1, 20 in game 2. They won the rebounding by only 1 rebound where they destroyed him in game 1, but they still, again, had 16 offensive rebounds.
Right.
They had 19 offensive rebounds in game 1. They're getting the ball. They're getting some of those second chances, but overall less chances than the first game. And the only other one, that shot over 50% is Tristan Thompson, shot 5 of 8. Everybody else, off a bit as far as from a percentage point is concerned. And Golden State, they were on. So, I mean, where do you go from here? That's the thing. I mean, we could sit here and talk about X's and O's. And from a Golden State standpoint, you just heard Windy again say they did change some things up from the defensive side. For Cleveland, offensively, I mean, you just wonder who's going to hit their shots because guys are getting looks. When they do move the ball and find an open guy, you just say the shots have to fall, and the shots aren't falling.
4 of the 5 starters for the Cavs scored in double figures. 4 of the 5. Let's be honest, that's not very common for them, okay?
No, it's not.
But you look at Kevin Love's line, I mean, it's a 22-point night, but it's an ugly 22-point night. He went 7 of 18 in scoring 22. He was 3 of 8 for threes. He made all 5 of his 3 throws. He did get a double-double, but it wasn't a dominant.
No, George Hill was good early in the first half, and then he slowed down. Where is J.R. Smith?
He got 5 points.
2 of 9 is crazy. And I hear people talking about all this.
Dribbling out the clock, that's where J.R. is.
And I hear people talking about LeBron, and there's some issues with LeBron, too, that we're going to get to about he and Love and complaining about the officials and not running back and such. But people saying, LeBron, he's got excuses. He's got the team he wants. No. I don't think LeBron has the team he wants.
Yeah, I'm so tired of people saying that.
LeBron got a team that was better than the team he had at the beginning of the year.
Correct.
LeBron's teammates at the beginning of the year where you were trying to catch lightning in a bottle with some of the injured, aged players that they had, correct?
Yep.
You were trying to get, and that's what you're doing with
Derrick
LeBron.
Rose, Dwayne
you're going
Wade.
1 year at a time trying to catch that lightning in a bottle. It wasn't working. So they basically got a new team at the trade deadline. And everybody says it's the team LeBron wanted. No, I bet if he had his pick, it would be a different team.
Yes.
It was a better team than what he had, and that's what he had to do. That's what Cleveland had to do. If they were going to have any kind of shot at the championship, they had to get younger and more athletic. Nobody said they picked up these great players that was going to match with a Golden State team, but they did get better and more athletic. But it didn't mean they became the best team in the league, but they were better than what they were.
No, I mean, Clarkson and Hood are basically non-factors. Larry Nance gives you effort, and you're counting on George Hill to give you a little more. And I think when people say, he's got the team he wanted Tristan Thompson and J.R. Smith to get their money after the championship in 2016. So that part I get, but no, this is not the team he wants. It's the team he has. I mean, there's a completely different thing. And I do want to point this out because, any other finals performance by a guy who has 29 points on 50% shooting from the floor, has 13 assists, and is 1 rebound away from a triple-double, you'd say, God, that guy played great.
Yeah.
He played great. For LeBron James, you say, he played okay.
Yeah, they say it's not good enough.
It's not good enough. And look, you're right. They didn't win the game, so clearly it wasn't good enough. But if we're honest with ourselves, let's just understand the prism through which we're watching LeBron James. There's a very good chance, Mike, a very good chance, if he plays long enough, he's going to top Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's record for the most points in NBA history. And there's a very good chance, Mike, he's going to be one of the top 5 assist guys in NBA history. You go look at the top 5 assist guys in NBA history. Find out where they are on the scoring list all time. They're nowhere to be found, okay? So you can look to LeBron and say, well, he's not doing this and he's not doing that. And there's a part of you that may be right, but there's a large part of you that's saying, man, you don't understand what you're seeing.
Appreciate what you're seeing.
Just understand what we're getting from this guy because there's nobody like him and there may never be anybody like him again.
Are there some issues? Yes, there are some issues that we'll get into as well, but I mean, you just see guys when he gets dishes to their teammate and just say, gotta fall, gotta drop, and they just don't drop, and you're just like, and then you're playing against Golden State, man. I mean, Golden State, they're going to be on this run as long as they keep this crew together, however long that's going to be.
It's 1-on-5 sometimes.
Yeah.
Golic
and Wingo.
And Wingo.
Mm-hmm. Trey Wingo and Mike Golic Sr. Golic and Wingo with you. Glad you're with us on a Monday morning after Game 2 of the NBA Finals, where it does feel like we're in the final countdown of the NBA season. Look, I think that the Cavs will find a way to win at least one game at home and prolong this thing a little bit. But before we get into what we had teased, Mike, I do want to bring this up because our great researcher, Brett, our fine researcher who put the size in seismology all those years ago. I alluded to the point of LeBron is very likely, I think, if he plays long enough, going to break Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's record and has a chance to be top 5 assists of all time. Well, right now he's currently 11th all time in assists and 7th in points. So let's take a look at that from the other perspective. All the top assist guys, right? Right now he is 7th in points, and he's just a few assists away from being in the top 10. The John Stockton is the all-time leading assist guy. You want to take a gander where he is in the all-time point list?
I don't think very high.
45th.
Yeah.
Jason Kidd is 2nd in assists. You know where he is in points?
Where?
81st.
Okay.
Steve Nash is 3rd in assists. You know where he is in points?
Not up there.
83rd.
Mm-hmm.
Now let's go Magic Johnson. Magic Johnson is in the top 5 in assists. You know where he is in points?
Probably a little higher, but I'm not thinking as high as some people would think.
77th.
Yeah.
And then there's Mark Jackson, who is 4th all-time in assists. He's 219th in points. So just to understand what we're talking about when we're talking about LeBron, he has a chance to be the number 1 all-time leading scorer. If he plays long enough, I think he's going to get it. And then he's going to be a top 5 assist guy. That's never happened before. That has never, ever happened. That complete package of a player. And you have to sort of understand the way you're looking at him and what he's able to do. However, one thing that I think is fair is something that Tristan Thompson said after the game. And a lot of fans are tired of it when they see it happen. And Tristan says, I'm with you.
I'm over the referee. I'm over the referee. At the end of the day, if you don't give effort and you don't play hard, you never give yourself a chance to win. At the end of the day, you can control, you can control. You know what I'm saying? So just go out and play. Go out and play, miss or make. You think you got fouled, you think it's a travel, you got to get back on defense and communicate. And that's what that's what Golden State wants. They want you to hang back, complain to the refs, and complain because they're going to come down and knock a 3 in your face. So we can't be worried about that. Miss or make, we got to get back on the defensive end.
That is just a great point by Tristan Thompson, getting back to basketball. And it can be difficult because it's frustrating. And especially if you're LeBron, everything's on your shoulders. You're trying to make something happen. He does complain a lot. But, a lot of players today, Draymond Green complains a lot. But he's on a winning team, so it doesn't get noticed as much. And I'm not saying the complaining is bad at times. It looks bad at times. But when it is bad, is just what Tristan Thompson is saying. You see it out of LeBron. You see it at times out of Kevin Love as well. They complain about not getting a call, and they don't get back. They're too busy complaining. They don't get back on defense. Next thing you know, Golden State comes down, whips the ball around. They get an open 3, and they got 3 more on you. So what Tristan is saying is, hey, bad calls happen. Ty Lue said he's done talking about the rest. He got teed up for stepping on the court on a play last night. Bad calls do happen. And it can be frustrating when they don't go your way, especially when you think there were a couple of awful calls in the beginning. Out of bounds plays were ridiculous. I have no idea what the refs were looking at. But Tristan is right. As hard as it is, you got to be professional about it. You can complain, but get your butt back.
Yeah.
Don't make it 5-on-4. Don't give the other team numbers because you're complaining about something. And LeBron definitely does that at times.
Kevin Love seems to do it a little bit too. But to your point, I'm glad you mentioned the Ty Lue play because Ty Lue got a technical because LeBron James was tackled.
Yeah.
Tackled by 3 players, and they didn't call a foul.
Yeah.
It was on a breakaway early on. I think it was in the second quarter. Breakaway for the rim. It was a long lead pass, I think, from Kevin Love, as LeBron was ahead of everybody, and he was literally tackled by 3 players, and he wasn't fouled. Now, Ty Lue compounded it by getting a technical, but at some point you have to say to yourself, if 3 guys tackle my guy, and that's still not a foul, what is a foul? And the refs are not why the Cavs lost. The refs aren't pulling for either team. That's a joke. That's insane. They're just bad.
The refs have been, no doubt about it.
They've just been bad.
As I said after game 1, I wasn't picking a side on a team got favored. They're just flat out not doing well.
Yeah.
They're not. But that
Tristan's point is right.
It's absolutely right. There's a time to worry about it. It's not when the other team's going down and has numbers and you're complaining about everything. You can't do that, and it just happens too much.
Yeah, it does happen too much. And, Tristan, to his credit, there's a couple of times it looked like he got raked, and he didn't say anything about it. So, look, it's not one side or the other when it comes to the refs, but at this point, you know what they are, and you know what they aren't, and you're just going to have to deal with it. So with that in mind, I think Tristan's mindset is absolutely perfect. So Tristan has said something that is very true. LeBron has also said something that is very true, and we'll get to that a little bit later about what the mindset of his team needs to be. But I got to tell you, Mike, somebody else said something that was very true over the weekend. And if this guy was just average at one thing, I might have been able to update my favorite thing in the world. And we'll get to that in a little bit. But there's a lot to get to. There's nuance that is not yet been discovered, but through the great research of Brett and our collective genius.
Ah, yes.
Our collective genius. I'm not saying that on my own.
Brett did all the work.
Yes, I just said, hey, what about this? And he did all the calculation.
Golic.
I tell you what, a great sports night last night. Yeah. No doubt about it.
And Wingo.
What a day, what a show, what a time.
1, 2, 3, 4. Washing my nose, oh yeah.
I'm a shower curtain, and I do one thing. Keep water from leaking everywhere. So you see why I feel useless compared to Geico, who does so much more. Like, not only could Geico save you money, but they've been around for over 75 years. And they give you 24/7 access online, over the phone, or on the Geico app. And they've got a 97% customer satisfaction rating. They do all this while I have to listen to this chucklehead. Oh, good, he stopped.
Washing my toes.
Oh, great, an encore.
Geico. Expect great savings and a whole lot more.
If there's one guy that's ready to shake it up, it's our next guest, ladies and gentlemen. And woo, we're excited he's here.
Stripes.
ESPN NBA analyst Ryan Hollins, Hot Take Hollins, joins us in studio. Woohoo! Giving us the Straight Talk. Brought to you by Straight Talk Wire.
You're not going to let that one die.
Love it.
That one's not going anywhere.
That's the thing. When you say something like that, it gets cut up and used over and over again. Everything is material here.
Listen, and that is the Straight Talk. Best phones, best networks, no contracts. Straight Talk Wireless. All right, now listen, Ryan, you were in here after Game 1, and you thought I made a very good point, that the Warriors appeared vulnerable after Game 1. They do not appear vulnerable after Game 2. So where are we now in where this series stands and what we make of what Golden State is or isn't?
They're vulnerable. I don't necessarily want to talk about Golden State right now because I don't think that's the story.
What's the story?
And I apologize to deflect from your question. Kevin Love is the story right now.
Kevin Love is the story.
He's the story right now.
Because?
If you don't play defense, you can't play. If you're not going to give forth 100% of an effort defensively, if you are the guy that every time Golden State or Curry needs a basket, he just calls you out.
Yeah.
You can't play.
So you think the issue, right now the biggest issue with the Cavs is not J.R. Smith getting 5 points. It's not them being able to. You think it's Kevin Love more than anything else?
Listen, Golic, let me try to give this to football because
technically I'm Wingo and he's Golic.
Well, he was talking about football, so that's why
I'm talking to you.
Yeah. I got
you. He helps me. This is my translator. This is my translator right here. If there's a guy on the defensive line, that's sweet. That you don't have to worry about that. Whenever you guys need a yard, you're going to run the ball his way. It's going to open things up. He can't play. Here's a problem.
I'll put it another way from a football analogy because we had one of the greatest, if not the greatest of all time, in Reggie White. And Reggie White, basically, he could line up anywhere on the line and he'd find the weak spot on that offensive line and in a position where he could be one-on-one with that guy and wouldn't hold a candle. So there's a difference, though, of effort and just not being a good defender. So, because I see him in front of Curry a lot, I see him in position, but then he gets beat. So, an effort thing is one thing, because then you're ripping a guy for effort. Another is technically he's just not a good defender. With Kevin Love, which is it?
It's both. It's both right now. It's both right now.
So
and
he's the package deal of bad, is what you're saying.
There's one thing. We watched Zydrunas Ilgauskas get out, 2 broken feet, bad knees, straight-legged, 25 years in the NBA, and show on a pick and roll for years in the NBA against the greatest athletes. Why? Because he was early. So right now, I'm telling you from the locker room, I'm telling you from watching film how disgusting this thing is. Show on pick and rolls because he was early. If you're not the greatest athlete, you got to be ahead. And I don't care what we want to point this at. When I need a bucket and I'm Steph Curry and I can point to Kevin Love and say, Kevin, come into a pick and roll 3-pointer. I'm cooking. Kevin, it's an 8-point game. Kevin, come on back. Bucket, cooking. That's a problem. You cannot play. I played for Ty. Ty was our defensive coach 2 years in a row. He is locked in on the defensive side of the ball. One of the greatest coaches I played for. That's inexcusable. Yes, Kevin Love gave me 20 points.
On 7 of 18 shooting.
But when you sacrifice 40 or 50 as the effect of what you're doing on the floor or your lack of effort, because I'm calling it lack of effort, and if you hurt, man, get off the floor. It's the NBA Finals. Inexcusable.
Well, he was minus 12 on the floor, but you bring up an interesting point as Hot Take Hollins is with us, our NBA analyst here. I want you to listen to what Tristan Thompson said after the game, and I think it sort of bears what you're talking about here.
I'm over the referee. At the end of the day, if you don't give effort and you don't play hard, you never give yourself a chance to win. At the end of the day, you can control what you can control. You know what I'm saying? So just go out and play. Go out and play. Miss or make. You think you got fouled. You think it's a travel. You got to get back on defense and communicate. And that's what Golden State wants. They want you to hang back, complain to the refs, and complain because they're going to come down and knock a three in your face. So we can't be worried about that. Miss or make, we got to get back on the defensive end.
So listening to him and then listening to you, do you think he's talking about Kevin Love there?
When he said knock a three in your face, whose face did those threes get knocked in last night? He's talking straight to Kevin Love. And I'm talking straight to Kevin, too. Because I got love for Kevin. That's a former team. That's my guy, okay? So I'm going to say this from a place of love, and this is something I would say directly to him also.
So, and I would imagine that what Tristan was also talking about was LeBron as well. Because LeBron complains at one end. LeBron's one of the greatest that we see. Yeah. But he complains. A lot of players complain. Like Draymond complains. But you know what? When you're winning, it's a different story. But when you're not and you complain, you don't run to the other end and the other team has numbers. So I would say LeBron is guilty of this as well as you're focusing on Love. I get it. But would you say LeBron is guilty of that part as well?
We saw that 3 or 4 times from LeBron. Yeah. That's definitely a message to LeBron also. Because there were on 2, or at least probably every single one of those plays, when LeBron threw his hands up, or you actually saw him walking back on defense. So we're playing Golden State, and you'll go through the film. We'll question our offensive rebounding. Why? Because we got to get back on defense. And we'll go through 2 or 3 days in a row transition drills in which you're outnumbered going back 4-on-5 on defense. Why? So that you're used to sprinting out the term with your hair on fire as if you're in a panic to get back because Golden State is that lethal. So LeBron's doing this or he's waving. That's true. It is completely inexcusable. I can sympathize with LeBron's first, right? With LeBron's first.
Well, he was tackled.
Just a little more.
He was tackled on one play, and the play that Ty Lue got a technical. I mean, like he was.
He did have 51 points in the first game too.
Correct.
Kevin Love ain't scoring 51 points. Okay,
Correct.
So it's funny. I've got to address this too, man. Let's dead this idea. Everybody keeps asking for Minnesota Kevin Love. We won 14 games one season. I was in Minnesota with Kevin Love. Wait till Minnesota Kevin Love comes back. Why can't we lost games? He took volume shots and we lost games. He didn't play winning basketball.
So outside of the effort part, which is a personal thing and everybody has to look in the mirror for themselves as far as how much effort they put out. Mm-hmm. And then there's just not being able to play good defense. Are we asking Kevin Love to do something he's never been good at doing?
Check this out. Is Curry a good defender?
They were certainly trying to get LeBron on Curry a whole lot in game one.
No. Help me here. We don't got it. This is to the naked eye. You don't got to be an NBA analyst. Is Curry a good defender?
He's not a great defender.
But when okay, cool.
Right.
But let's just talk talent.
Are you asking does he give effort? Is that what you're asking?
No, we're not talking effort.
We're just talking
physically. Is he a good defender? We'll say physically. Does he have the attributes to be a good defender? No.
No, he does not.
You got 2 bad ankles at 6'1", all right? And you got the ball in. Curry's not a good defender, but you know what you're going to get. And his effort from early in the league has improved. What does that do? If I know you're likely going to get beat, but I know you're going to get beat the same way with the same effort, which is a good effort now versus his first years in the league, I can adjust around that.
Right.
Kevin Love, when you give up the peanut butter and the jelly, you can't give up the peanut butter and the jelly. When you're going to give up the 3 ball and the drive, that's a problem.
So did you see this out of Kevin Love in Minnesota as well? And if so, then why should we be shocked?
We weren't great as a team defensively. We didn't know what we were doing on defense as a team. So I can't point that at Kevin Love.
Right.
I can't just point that at him. I'm talking about the volume shots. Him getting 20 and 10 as a machine is 20 and 10, and we're losing aren't the 20 and 10. They're going to win you an NBA championship. That's not the Kevin Love, and I'm going to call him out because down 3-1, he played great defense. He improved when they won the championship. Kevin Love was a good defender. He did what he needed to do.
ESPN NBA analyst Ryan Hollins joins us in studio. He'll be with us all show on Wednesday, and this is why, as he comes with the heat and the fire. This hour of Golic and Wingo brought to you by La Quinta Inns and Suites. Book at LQ.com and win at business. Okay, so clearly in your estimation, if the Cavs are going to get back in this series and make it a series, Kevin Love has to step up and do some things. There's no question about that.
And I don't mean everybody. That's why I brought up Minnesota Kevin Love.
Right.
Kevin Love just got 20 points, averaging 20 points in the NBA Finals.
Right. Yeah.
They're giving the cakes up. LeBron had to score 50, and they got routed last night.
When he scored 29, had 13 and 9 assists. And 9 boards, rather.
It's bad basketball.
It's bad basketball. So they
Come sit down with me.
Well, they got to play. Well, here's the question. We'll get to that. They got to play somebody because you might want to sit J.R. Smith, who's also doing nothing. But LeBron knows they're going home. This Cleveland team has played much better at home. The Cavs have struggled in the finals on the road. They're not the same team. LeBron, however, wants his team to remain uncomfortable.
We want to continue to be uncomfortable. Just because we're going home don't mean we can relax. And this is the last team in the world that you want to relax against. They've proven that they can win on someone else's floor, no matter if it's through adversity, as people may call it, when they were going through the Rocket series or whatever the case may be. They proved they can win on someone else's floor and do it in any fashion, in any way. So I will continue to stay uncomfortable, and I hope our guys continue to stay uncomfortable, no matter what else going back home.
All right, we always say role players play better at home, right? In the finals or in playoff games. Can stars like Kevin Love, because let's face it, he's the second star on this team. Any way you look at it, he's the second guy that they count on besides LeBron James. Is he going to play better because they're at home? Is he going to play better defense because they're at home?
I hope so, because he
can.
We've seen it before. I wouldn't be as upset with Kevin right now if he won the NBA champ, if he wasn't supposed to be the second best player on that team, if he didn't have a potential to do this. I don't have a problem with Kevin Love getting blown by defensively.
Right.
Because that's just dude, you're not fast enough. I get it. It's hard. That's what makes us a special defender, is that they do both. So for me to play 10 years in the league, I had to guard my man, and then I had to help when everybody else was beat. I had to do two things, all right? Well, there's stars on offense that do two things. They shoot the three, they drive the ball, they facilitate. Defensively, I had to do two things. To just be an average player on defense, you got to at least do one thing, all right? Stop the three. He was nothing. He gave up the three, and he gave up the drive over and over. There's so many defense. When you watch that, when Ty's going to watch that film, I've watched film with Ty, it's going to be disgusting. Kevin, you got to be better. Kevin, they're picking on you. So they can play better. I hope they will. As a group, they'll be better. But you know what? This ain't an inexperienced squad. Like Golden, that's why LeBron is like, hey, don't fall in love with this. Yeah. This is not Boston. This is not a young, starless Boston team coming into our place. This is a team that will give us the business and sweep us.
So we saw how Golden State played in this game early on. At one point in the first quarter, they were shooting 83%. They ended up shooting 57% in the field, almost 42% from threes. Tough to think they're going to do that every single game. If they do, it's obviously is going to be over. But if they're not going to shoot that well, like in game one, what now can Cleveland do? Is there anything from an X's and O's standpoint that they can do outside of when those guys get a chance to make their shots, make them, and have some more effort on defense?
This is what makes you so livid. I'm sorry, defensively, I don't want to keep prying back to it, but
yeah. No, if it's what you think is important, let us know about it.
It breaks down everything that you do. It's literally demoralizing when you put together a defensive strategy to stop Curry or stop, and this is a team. Like, this is also the team where you individually have to be just decent defensively because we can't help you.
Right.
As soon as we help, that's giving up a lob dunk. Draymond's throwing a lob. He's getting to the foul line or foul line, Jay. So you can't run off. This is a team that loves for you to help. This is pick your poison. Let's look at that third quarter from the Cavaliers.
Where they actually outscored the Warriors.
And they came out. One thing that there's two things they did great. They played faster, they recognized the mismatches they had, and they ran plays at those mismatches, and they ran them fast. They didn't wait. They didn't delay. And they ran them fast and with a purpose. And they didn't think. They just played. They just played basketball. And they got to get back to just playing basketball, attacking a mismatch, using effort, using energy, doing the little things. It looked comfortable. They looked comfortable. Now, obviously, I know to start the game, they got to be ready. They weren't prepared. They blitzed LeBron. They trapped him all over the place. LeBron looked like he was confused. And LeBron's going to be upset at himself because he's a very cerebral ball player, and he got thrown for a loop.
Well, to that point, I'm glad you brought that up. Our analyst, Ryan Hollins, NBA analyst, is with us in studio. He'll be with us all show Wednesday. He did look a little confuddled. And this is what Brian Windhorst, our NBA insider, had to say after the game.
The Warriors changed a lot in their game plan in this game. Not just their starting lineup and their offensive strategy, but their defensive strategy. They were picking LeBron up full court. They were double teaming him. They were forcing the ball out of his hands. Essentially, Kenny, what they were doing is saying, we don't believe your teammates can beat us. And they were right tonight. And in the huddles, LeBron was really engaged, trying to get his teammates to move off the ball, to make countermeasures. He was really trying to rally them. And as the game went on, I just watched him get more and more defeated because his team wasn't keeping up with the countermeasures, and Curry just kept hitting the threes. And that's something that you fight against the Warriors is, when you play them on a night where they're awesome, which the Cavs have many times. I mean, they've lost 13 times with the Warriors in the playoffs in the last 4 years now. It's really a mental challenge, and it's another reason why Game 1 hurts so much, because when you have an opportunity, you have to get it, because you have nights like tonight.
What I thought interesting there when he said LeBron, encouraging teammates and getting frustrated for other guys not moving, but if you're used to when LeBron has the ball, everybody else is basically standing and deciding what's going to happen after LeBron decides what he's going to do, either shoot, drive, and kick to someone standing there. Can you then say, well, guys, you got to move more? Well, wait, we're used to not moving until you decide what's going to be happening out there. It seems like conflicting things.
Hey, man, when you play with the greatest player on the planet, when you're playing with LeBron James, you better be used to catching and shooting. I tell you, it would have been a dream for me. Whenever and I had a privilege of playing not with LeBron, but with some great guys. That meant when I was open, they were gonna find me. I'm running around like this. I'm locked and loaded, and I'm stepping into my preparation is done before a shot is there, before the lob is there. I'm running hard to get my feet set for a lob. So when it comes down to LeBron, and you likely know he had 51 at some point, they're going to go and get him.
Right.
You got to be ready to shoot. You got to be down, locked and loaded, ready to shoot. You got to move. That's why LeBron loved guys like Anderson for Rajal. So what Andy would do, and I got a chance to play with Andy, he would work the bottom of the baseline. And whenever LeBron was doubled, the big would go double. Andy would almost catch that thing in stride for like a Mike and layup. And he wasn't the greatest athlete, but he was always moving. He was always ready. That's why LeBron loves those guys that are always prepared for his passes. That's one of the things that Kevin Love does great. Mm-hmm. If he can defend, he fits because you can't double and help off of him, okay? And and I'm going to call out another guy too, and it's not to the same degree as Jeff Green has to hit a corner three. Jeff Green, you got to hit 3 or 4 threes. You got to be Bruce Bowen right now.
To your point, I'm glad you brought that up because here is a second spectrum stat, which sometimes we make fun of, but this one makes all the sense in the world. When you talk about spotting up and catch and hit, catch and release threes.
Yes,
that's what we're talking about.
Yep.
Regular season, when LeBron, after the new guys joined the team in February, when he hit them on catch and release threes, they were hitting 43%. The playoffs, entering the finals, 36%.
Mm-hmm.
In the NBA finals, 25%. Now, is that them poor shooting or them being really guarded well by Golden State? Because that thing is going in the wrong direction if the Cavs are going to have any chance in this series.
So the reason that we talked about how poor that Kevin Durant played in Game 1 was attributed to Jeff Green. And Ty Lue has made it a note to get back and play Cavaliers basketball. And that's inserting Thompson back in the starting lineup, playing Jeff Green, Nance coming off the bench, you notice these are guys I've just named non-shooters.
Correct.
So you're sacrificing some of that three-point shooting. Now, what they don't see on that stat is how bad the defense was on the other end. And now I'm asking for both. So, Jeff, I don't need you to be anybody. I don't need you to be Kyle Korver. I need Bruce Bowen. And look, man, and I know how hard Jeff works. When I played with Jeff Green, and why I'm going to challenge him on the three-point line, he was a guy, we'll have practice at 11. Jeff's on the floor at 9:30 shooting threes. Jeff puts in that type of work. Now it's time for it to for it to pay off.
Can it? Can it against this?
Of course it can. He's capable.
Yeah.
I would not say anything about a guy publicly if they weren't capable, if they hadn't done it before, because he's that good and he's impacted the game defensively. They were good defensively outside of Kevin Love just give up the cakes.
So to finish up with this, what can you do with J.R. Smith? 5 of 19 in the first two games, 3 of 10 in threes, 10 points in game 1, 5 points this past game. Just out of players that you have on this team, can you sit him and bring someone else in, or you just have to hope he starts hitting?
I don't necessarily blame JR because he was put in some tough situations when he had the ball. He's not the same spring chicken that he was as a young guy that can just go out and create his own shots. He's more so going to manufacture points off of LeBron. And I got to credit the Warriors in this case because the Warriors didn't sit back and say, well, LeBron, we'll see if you pick us apart. JR, we'll see if you get going. They went and got it. It's almost like a schoolyard fight where you know you're meeting the bully, all right, in the bathroom at 3:00, and as soon as you see him, boom, you clocked him. You gave him a chance, and that's what the Warriors did to LeBron and company. They went out and trapped. They blitzed. They picked up the ball. They were aggressive, and then they dictated what happened rather than JR feeling comfortable out there and LeBron just making things happen like you saw in Game 1.
Golic and Wingo.
It was all sort of one big giant Jell-O mold. It's very interesting where that went.
Let's bring in Brian Scalabrine, our NBA champ who won a title with the Celtics in 2008, was an assistant under Mark Jackson in Golden State in 13 and 14. And, of course, he's part of the Big Three Season 2, which starts later this month. Brian, I ask you, what's worse, getting your heart ripped out like your own teammate helped contribute to in Game 1, or then just getting paper cutted to death in Game 2?
That's a great question. Probably both are bad in the NBA Finals. One thing that we all have to realize is at the end of the day, it's all worth one, right? Every game is worth one. You lose by 50, you lose by 1. I think that was a tough loss in Game 1. They clearly didn't respond in Game 2, but I'm on the belief that the Cavs are good enough to win Game 3. I really just think if you watch how this whole game unfolded, the role players of the Warriors, a lot of the attention to Steph, he goes 5 for 5 in the fourth quarter. And I agree, right? They're demoralizing threes because they move the ball. You play good defense for 20 seconds and boom, he knocks down a shot late in the clock and you think you're trying to fight back in. But the Cavs definitely figured something out. We cannot play this up-tempo style. We have to sort of goon up the game, as T. Lue's words that he used. And they have to figure out a way to continue to pound the glass and force the Warriors to get turnovers.
So continue with that. Do you think Cleveland get back in this? They've been destroying them on the offensive boards. How else? What can Cleveland do in your mind that can get them back in this series?
I don't think they have to do anything different than the way that they played in 1 and 2. Obviously, you'd like to see more 1, where like LeBron was a little bit more aggressive. But I think that just being in the queue would be enough for those guys. Like LeBron is going to still pass the ball. He had 13 assists the other night. Guys are going to make more shots. The biggest thing is I think they're going to make more, not dirty plays, but just like more of those tough, hard-nosed plays that I just didn't think I saw in Game 2 that I saw in Game 1. They really should have won Game 1, but it all comes back down to, you got to be able to execute down the stretch. But if the game is close, I give the advantage to LeBron, especially at home.
All right, so Brian Scalabrine is with us, NBA champion, works for the Celtics, and, of course, is part of the Big Three Season 2. We'll get into that as your team is awesome. We'll get into that a little bit later. What's the biggest positive, if you're the Cavs, you can take out of this that you bring with you to Game 3? Because, as we said, they found 2 different heartbreaking ways to lose.
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing is that the Warriors are playing otherworldly, and you still were within striking distance. And that's all you can pretty much ask. You can't allow the Warriors to pass the way that they passed. Something that happened with Steve Kerr, give him a ton of credit. Early in the game, if you notice, like guys like JaVale McGee, Draymond Green, those guys weren't setting screens. They were slipping out of it, and that was causing confusion on the Cavs defense. And I thought it took away a little bit of their aggressiveness. So one thing about the Warriors is you're going to have to switch, right? You don't want to be in rotation when you're guarding those guys. But if you slip out, you have to be decisive in your calls, whether it is a switch and you got to get up to the body, or it's not and you stay with your own. But the communication definitely was not there in what they need. So with all that being said, the Warriors were like ridiculous in the paint, ridiculous in the restricted area, and then Steph Curry goes off from three. Like, that's not going to happen again in Game 3. They can't be low turnover, paint, high percentage in the paint, and knock down the three. So one thing is going to give, and the Cavs will be just better offensively. I just really feel like LeBron will be probably have a better balanced game, more like a Game 1.
Yeah, early on in that game, it was like a layup line for Golden State, getting layups and dunks and just living in the paint. So can you do anything roster-wise for Cleveland, mix things up? You haven't gotten a whole lot out of J.R. Smith, or do you just hope that he starts hitting in some of the games?
Yeah, you don't want to overreact. You know, just like everyone was probably talking about the Cavs not being able to win the series against Boston. But when you go back home, like, those guys are going to be better. Role players are going to be better. I don't think that JaVale McGee and Sean Livingston are going to be 11 for 11 from the field. So I think you just stay the course. T-Lue might go small just to see what the Warriors do right off the jump. But Tristan Thompson, at least he's hitting the glass, the offensive board, which I think that's going to be important to do. But it wouldn't shock me if they make a change to the starting lineup or a rotational thing, or bring a guy off the bench, and everyone will point to that as the adjustment. But the reality is they have to play way harder and way more physical to beat the team that's like offensively just off the charts.
Well, Brian Scalabrine is with us, and that leads me to the next point. Yeah, we think Cleveland will play better, and we think all these things will happen. But if Golden State plays like they did last night, will it matter?
See, that's the thing. Like, Cleveland playing better means that they're more physical, that they're into the body, that they're, playing that style. Just like go watch PJ Tucker and how much he dominated that Houston series at times by just willing games, attacking the glass, spreading the floor out. You have to play tougher. And if you play tougher, the Warriors won't be that good offensively. If you come in and you're a little bit soft on the defensive end, the Warriors are going to destroy you. It's just like, so when you say, like, is that enough, or can the Warriors, the Warriors are too good offensively, you have to make them miss. You can't sit around and hope that they miss open shots. It doesn't work like that with this team. They're an all-time great team. There's no question about that. So the only way to go and fight these guys is to have like a game like Houston did, where every possession they treated it like life or death. I did not see that from the Cleveland Cavaliers yesterday. I did see a little bit in Game 1, but they should watch Game 3 of the Houston series and watch and see what those guys did.
Brian Scalabrine joining us, won the title with the Celtics in 2008, an assistant under Mark Jackson at Golden State in 2013-14 season. So take us into the meeting rooms or on the practice court or in between games here. Tristan Thompson made a comment after the game that said, we got to quit worrying about the officials. We got to quit complaining and get back on defense. We got to sprint back. And there's no doubt that was Kevin Love and that was LeBron James that were doing that. When they get frustrated, they don't get a call, they don't run back. Golden State has numbers and they're already a better team. So how is that discussed by Ty Lue and or other players to those guys and saying, hey, knock it off and get back on defense?
Yeah, you just show film and you say, come on, guys, we can't do this type of stuff. And I know, like, everyone looks at it like you're calling out LeBron James. I guarantee LeBron would call himself out in those situations. Like, they all know what they have to do. They know that they have to, you want to make this and grandstand the officials and not get back and you give up a three. They understand that if you do that and you go to the basket and you get fouled and you miss and you don't sprint back and they come down and hit a three, they understand it's a 5-point swing. That could be the difference between winning and losing. So I don't think that's as much of a big deal as what they'll show when, like, two guys come together and if you watch, the Cavs had their hands down all night, Warriors throwing right over the top. or straight line passes, cross-court straight line passes. I think that'll be the main focus. If you want to see if the Cavs come out in a different mentality, just watch their hands at just the first 4 minutes of the game. My guess is all their hands will be up. They'll have active hands. They'll get more deflections. And that will, as much as like people want to make a big deal about huge adjustments, that's going to be the slight adjustment that the Cavs are going to make. They're just going to make it tougher for the Warriors to make those easy passes. And you have to turn them over. They are loose with the basketball. And I think their focus is going to be, let's see if we can turn them over, and in our home building, we'll get out and run a whole lot more. I was a part of that Cavs series against the Celtics, just, watching both of those games, and Cleveland's energy in their building it's very, very different than the way they play on the road.
Brian Scalabrine with us, the White Mamba, as his nickname is. TV analyst for the Celtics, as you just alluded to, but you were also an assistant coach under Mark Jackson in Golden State in 2013 and 2014. And that's sort of, Brian, when Steph Curry blossomed into Steph Curry. I mean, his first 3 years in the league, 17.5, 18, 14. But starting 2012-13 and then 2013-14, 22, 24, and it's been going that way ever since. When you were there, did you see glimpses of what he was about to become?
Yeah, as soon as so basically I was off the staff, and then when I got hired by the Celtics, I kind of was like laying low. The first thing I said was Steph Curry's going to be an MVP of the league one day, and everyone thought I was nuts or anything like that. He was like a pocket pass, basically coming off a screen and being able to get rid of the ball quickly and efficiently away from being an MVP. Because I watched him work, I watched him shoot, I watched his ability to create space. I saw the league kind of shifting into it's more about guards who can take it off the bounce, more about pick and roll guys who can shoot out of it versus guys who can get downhill. And I saw it right then that this guy was a special player. Now, there's some things that he could still get better, like he was loose with the ball when he won the MVP. There's no question about that. But there's one thing, I've been around a lot of guys. I've never been around a guy who could work the way that he works. Because Ray Allen was a great worker. Like, I think Steph Curry would floor a guy like Ray. And Ray was like a guy who is known legendary as how hard he works, how early he gets to the gym. Steph Curry's work ethic is ridiculous.
All right, Brian, Big 3 season starts a little later this month. Ready to go? Give us a little preview.
So I am ready. I got my trash talking hat on, but ultimately I got to perform, right? I can't just sit there and win the trash talking battles or the battles with Michael Rappaport on the sideline. I have to eventually make some shots, and it's a make-miss league, and that's what guys say when they make excuses when they lose. But not this year. We're going to get it done. I got some pretty good guys and some hard-nosed guys, so I'm ready to go.
So what's your shot? If we're going to say, Scalabrine's got the shot this year, what's your shot? What have you been working on?
Corner
that's going to be the corner 3. That's
it. There's no other place for me to go. Like, that's the best place. It's the hardest one for the defense to guard both. They make a commitment to the rim. I'm going to be wide open. They commit to me. The lane's going to be wide open. So all I got to do is be able to stand in the corner, make shots, and defend my position. Very, very simple for the White Mamba.
Well, listen, if only some Cavs could do that, they might be having a game in this series at some point. So while in practice, in theory, it sounds great, sometimes in performance it can be a little more difficult, but not for you because you are the White Mamba. Brian, thanks for being with us this morning.
Thanks, Brian.
You got it, guys.
Golic and Wingo.
It was all sort of one big giant Jell-O mold. It's very interesting where that went.
Well, we've got some breaking news, and if you're a tennis enthusiast, you might not like it. Serena Williams has pulled out of her fourth-round match against Maria Sharapova because of an arm injury, that according to multiple reports. So Serena Williams, who has dominated Maria Sharapova, had won 18 straight matches against her. Maria Sharapova has not beaten her since she was 17 years old, since Maria Sharapova was 17, not Serena. 18 straight times. So Maria Sharapova does advance to the French Open, and Serena Williams is out.
So, Sharapova, and this is ranked or was seeded 26 in this event, and obviously Serena, we've been talking about, was not seeded at all. Sharapova has been back for a little over a year, I believe, since her drug suspension.
Correct.
And Serena's missed 450 or 490 some days, I believe, from the birth of her first child. And this is true in any sport when you're coming back from a long layoff is not only is they're to knock off the rust, and we saw it with Serena in her opening round match. She was down 0-3 in the first set, down 0-2 in the second set, came back to win both. But then there's the injury. Not only the rust, but then the injury. How do you feel? What can you pull that muscle? Can you possibly hurt something when you're just coming back? And here we find out she has some kind of an arm injury. Don't know any more of the specifics of that yet at this point. But that's one of the big worries is rust and then injury as you're coming back until you've been back for a while to get back in the groove.
It's almost like in football when you injure your knee and then suddenly you hurt your hamstring because you're trying to overcompensate for one other thing.
Or you've been out for a while like that guy that holds out or something, and you come back and you get that hammy injury.
Joey Bosa's rookie year.
Or that calf or something, you get that strain when you're coming back because it's tough to prepare for the actual tournament itself with that play. So it's a shame. It looked like, Serena back on. We're in an area for her, and as she is, that she's just not used to missing this much time. It's her first child, never had a child before. We know of others, including Kim Clijsters, who in 2009, her first, she won the U.S. Open after having her first child. Margaret Court won three of the Grand Slams after having her first child. We all believe Serena will do that as well. But, it still seems there's a little more rust from not playing and then the injury bug here to knock off.
So, again, in their fourth-round matchup, Serena Williams has reportedly pulled out because of an arm injury, thus giving Maria Sharapova the walkover. And it's the first time since Maria Sharapova was 17 in 2004, when she was able to beat Serena Williams twice that year, that she has walked off the court. A winner, albeit not in the more conventional way.
Yes, exactly.
In basically in a retirement from Serena Williams, but Maria Sharapova is through to the next round, and we hope that Serena gets ready and right for Wimbledon, where if she is healthy, she will be a prohibitive favorite. Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio and ESPN News, presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. And then we get to golf. First of all, congratulations to Bryson DeChambeau, who won Jack's Tournament, Muirfield Village, the Memorial. It's one of the more spectacular golf courses you can play. And it's phenomenal.
Wasn't the prettiest win in the world as he ended up, he and Kyle Stanley ended up both bogeying the last hole.
Right.
So it went to a three-person playoff with, I'm horrible at his name.
Young-Un.
Thank you very much.
You're
who
welcome.
was waiting in the wings and got exactly what it needed to get back into it with both players bogeying. But then Stanley goes out in the first playoff hole, and then DeChambeau hits that, about 10, 12 foot or 9 foot or whatever it was for the win, something that he missed in regulation on the 72nd hole for the win. He ends up getting the win, not in the prettiest of ways. So he is your winner.
Yes.
But now you're going to tell us why Tiger Woods could have won.
Very easily could have won. But he didn't. I'm not saying he didn't. He didn't win. But look, first of all, this is Tiger talking about why he knows he didn't win.
I just need to hit better putts. This week I didn't feel comfortable with my lines, and my feel was a little bit off. Consequently, I missed a bunch of putts, but I hit it really good this week. So that's a positive going into Shinnecock, where ball striking is going to be a must. Obviously, way different golf shots around the greens, lots of bump and runs, and putters or spinners. It'll be very different. But overall, if I hit the ball like this, I'll be pleased in 2 weeks.
Again, he's talking about Shinnecock, which is where the U.S. Open will be in a couple of weeks. And, Tiger's right about his ball striking, though. It was very solid.
Yes, it was.
Just so we understand what's going on here, okay? Tiger missed 7 putts inside of 5 feet.
Yes, he did.
The field average was 1.5 missed putts inside 5 feet. So on those putts alone, he basically gave away 5.5 strokes.
Okay.
He finished 6 strokes behind the lead. And we're going to take it one step further.
Okay.
This is second spectrum stats in golf. There's a series of stats called strokes gained, where players compare to the field in a certain category. Think of it as WAR for golf.
Okay.
And I don't believe in war, but I believe in this, damn it. Let me have this. Okay. Tiger was first in the field in strokes gained tee to green. In other words, essentially, he was hitting the ball off the tee and onto the putting surface better and more accurately than anyone. Mm-hmm. Number 1 in strokes gained. So he wasn't spraying the ball all over the place.
Number 1, so he won.
Number 1, he won that stat.
Oh, okay.
He was also first.
What did he get for winning that stat?
A brand new car.
Okay.
He was also first in strokes gained on approach shots. That essentially means when he's hitting it onto the green, he was hitting it closer than anybody else on the field.
So he won that as well.
He got another car for that.
Wow.
So he was first off the tee and through the green, and he was also number 1 in proximity to the hole. Now, when he missed the green, whether on a par 5 or a par 4, where you want to get up and down from around the green, he was third in strokes gained around the green. In other words,
on the podium.
Yeah, well, yes, bronze medal. So he gets 2 cars and a bronze medal.
Woo!
So here he is now scrambling really well. He got up and down for par a lot.
He must have smoked the field here.
And then he had to do putting.
Yeah.
They had 73 guys make the cut.
Yeah.
He was 72nd.
So I had to give everything back.
The 2 cars in the bronze medal went
We're going to need the pink slip for those cars.
It reminded me of a story I got to tell, and I got to be careful how I tell this story. But by the way, so according to strokes gained putting, he lost 7.7 strokes on the field average.
Wait, how much did he lose by?
6.
So he would have won
if he had just putted average.
According to the second spectrum graphic fan vote
thing.
He won.
It reminded me though of a story a buddy of mine told me. They had a mini tour event at his club, and there was this guy on the range, and he was hitting every shot.
Yeah.
I mean, low fades, high draws
on the range.
On the range,
okay.
Power hooks, buttercut, whatever you want, stingers, high, low, whatever he wanted to do. And there's a longtime caddy at this club, watching him on the range, and he said to this pro, "Man, you must not be able to putt or chip with a bleep." And he used a very strong word,
a bad word.
And the tour pro looks at him and goes, "The hell are you talking about?" And he said, the caddy looked at him and said, "'Cause if you would, I'd know who the hell you were."
Yeah.
And that was one of the greatest smackdowns I've ever heard of in golf. And that's essentially what happened. Tiger could not putt his way out of a paper bag yesterday.
No, he could not.
But if you're looking for positives...
Oh, you always have. You always want to do that. You always want to build constructively.
Exactly. You have to place it in the fairway at Shinnecock. Otherwise, your ball, no matter how well you strike it, will go deep into that rough and you won't be able to find it.
Right.
So if you're a positive, and Tiger actually talked about this, if he putts normally, he has a really good chance, but he knows his ball striking is where it needs to be heading into the U.S. Open.
If I just putt, normally I'd probably be right there with those guys and out there in, the last couple of groups. But, overall, if I just keep building on this, how I'm hitting it right now, I'm in good shape for 2 weeks from now.
So, do we think the putting's going to come around?
Listen, I have no idea.
Yes, you do. You're a golf enthusiast.
I mean, the first couple of tournaments, he couldn't drive, right?
Correct.
It was a driver.
Yes.
Then it was his irons.
Yes.
Then a couple weeks ago, he was putting really well.
Yes.
Now he didn't putt.
Yes.
I mean, this is why he said, and I think we all understand, you need reps, you need tournaments to build consistency. He doesn't have it right now. So why would I think going into the U.S. Open in 2 weeks that all of a sudden he's going to put it all together and win this thing?
Yep.
I mean, that's a little far-fetched. And I'll continue to say, I would love to see it.
Right.
I'd love to see Tiger in contention. For all you people out there that are Tiger haters and say, quit talking about Tiger when he's tied for 23rd. Well, at one point he was tied for the lead in this tournament. And when Tiger is in it, it's just good for golf and good for ratings and good for everybody. I want to see him in this thing, but I'm sorry, there's no way. I'm just like when the Masters came around, he was the betting favorite. I'm like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Let's pull the reins in here a little bit.
Well, the bettors just wanted the money. Let's be clear about that.
Exactly.
But I thought Jack Nicklaus, who was in the booth a little bit with CBS, said something great. He said, look, when I hadn't won for a few years on tour, then I sunk a couple of putts and I realized I know how to do this again. Yeah. And I think once Tiger gets in that point, you have to learn how to win again, after not doing it for so long. And I think he's still in that process of trying to figure that out. And we'll see if it's going to turn out in his favor again when they play at Shinnecock.
I don't know enough about golf to know. Each week it's a different golf course, so different putting greens. So if you're just stroking it well in putting, or if it's how the greens are that particular week, I don't know enough about golf. No difference.
The greens are going to be extremely fast at Shinnecock. There's no question about that. So we'll see how that plays out going forward.
This has been the Best of Golic and Wingo podcast. You can listen or subscribe on the ESPN app, Apple Podcasts, or just ask your smart speaker to play Golic and Wingo. Plus, you can check the guys out live weekday mornings from 6 to 10 Eastern on ESPN Radio and on ESPN News.